Hey, hey Tom, tonight we learn about what happens to the brain in menopause. Sounds interesting.
It is. Hey, folks, we're a little bit late tonight. We're live here, and my name is Tom Jones. I am Tom Jones, Pharmacist, and we're going to talk tonight about your brain and menopause. If you're a lady, you should be listening to this because it really does affect how your life transcends. And it's raining here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're actually enjoying it because it's a little bit cooler, but we're also going around the world. So whether you're in the UK or in the United States, the Philippines, or you could be anywhere, you're within the sound of my voice and you're live listening to me. And we're going to be talking about one of the things that every woman in the world will encounter, and that's menopause. And how does it affect the brain? This is a really interesting topic that a lot of people have lots of interest in because, you know, if you're a lady, you want to know what goes on in your body. And you've always been told that there's a lot of things that go on. You know about the hot flashes, you know about the night sweats, you know about the decreased libido, you know about the lowered estrogen in the body, but what do you know about the brain? I'm grabbing a sip of water, enjoying myself, and actually the brain, people say, well, when you get older, the brain is affected. Well, it's interesting in the lady's standpoint, before the premenstrual situation in life for ladies, maybe in the 20s and 30s, you really don't have many issues about the brain and the cognitive function. And but they did a study back in 2013 that followed 2,300 women, and I'm somebody who really is all about clinical trials, clinical studies, actually developing and finding out and learning about all the processes that go on in the body. And these ladies were pre-menopausal, 2,300 of them, and they actually had to study. They did repeated tests as far as processing speed, verbal memory, and working memory. And when their estrogen levels dipped during perimenopause, they weren't able to learn as well. So, and if they supplemented with estrogen before their next period, their scores rose. So it's kind of interesting. So scores also rose in postmenopausal ladies. So, and that's sort of a surprising point also because your estrogen levels are dropping and have dropped significantly in postmenopause. So the theory is it may be more the fluctuations of the estrogen during the perimenopausal stage of your menopausal cycle. And this is actually kind of interesting. All right, the next part was about hot flashes. And now this is when the lady starts getting into the hot flash mode of time. She would wear a monitor. And for heart rate monitors, they actually wore the monitor, and no matter how many hot flashes they had, they wanted to keep track of the difference. And the monitor could tell the difference between sweating from hot flashes and sweating from dashing to the train. So it really was able to differentiate between the different types of motion that the individual was actually having. And it's interesting that 40% of the hot flashes that occurred during this time were not actually remembered. So the more hot flashes, the worse the relationship between the hot flashes and the memory performance was. So, and this is what happens to the body during a hot flash. So when one hot flash stops, memory seems to bounce back. Maybe because the chaos is over, but maybe because the brain stops producing its own estrogen. There's estrogen in the brain. There's estrogen in all parts of a woman's body. So we think women stop having hot flashes because the brain adapts somehow. Brains are plastic. They adapt. They adapt and they actually compensate. Now, let's talk about number 3. Let's talk about the actual structure of the brain changes during menopause. Shocking as it sounds, it's normal as we age to have little, many, tiny little strokes that aren't clinically observable. There's small changes in white matter that actually contain that melanin that insulates the neurons that actually go to the brain that improves the speed and of processing. So the resulting slowing of thinking, which can be measured by lab tests, and you want to always clinically have the process there, as having more hot flashes showed more changes with the women who had fewer hot flashes. So these little strokes, or tiny little strokes, do affect our thinking. So the question becomes, if you treat the hot flashes, can you avoid some of this white matter changes? And the scientists believe that the answer is yes. They haven't clinically done a whole lot of factors on that yet, but they're working on that process. They want to find out if they can treat the ladies with estrogen during that time to reduce the hot flashes and minimize the cognitive decline. So they're going to be working on that. And there's always room to find out exactly what's going on with the human body. Brain changes affect everything about the body. So menopause is known to trigger mood changes and temper tantrums and depression. And that's just simply reiterating what we hear when ladies say they're going crazy. A very common complaint among ladies is that they can't even feel like themselves during this period of time. One lady actually in the study stated that, I don't know why my family didn't divorce me. So perimenopausal, which has fluctuating estrogen, is not stable. It's actually going up and down. And, hey, Leanne Harris, I hope I'm on. Yes, I am on a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. I've got an audience, so if we can't get here early, and we normally try to get here early, we're going to be on the air come rain or shine. And it's raining here, but it's okay because I'm talking to you and you're here, and that's what counts. It is so good. But now let's think about the fluctuating levels of menopause and of the estrogen related to menopause. Get a sip of water here, and it's kind of like a domino effect on the brain and on the body. If your mood is low and you don't feel good and you have that feeling that nothing is going right, you got that mood swing, you got the temper tantrum, you got the depression, that is really going to affect the rest of your life, because it affects the sleep patterns, it affects how you handle stress, it affects how you actually feel during the day, and particularly at night. If you're laying there looking at the ceiling and you're trying to figure out why was I so exhausted today, and Why was my mood in such a bad mood? It's really kind of bad because. But the good part is, there's one good takeaway here. In the 40s and in the 50s, there's not much dementia and Alzheimer's. So we do know that estrogen does protect the body against Alzheimer's. So you can tackle some of the symptoms of the menopause, and when it seems overwhelming and it seems nearly impossible, that there's definitely some research. There's research going on all the time to try to figure out what are the best ways to actually cope with the less estrogen in the body. Remember, estrogen and progesterone have receptor sites all across the body. The brain, the shoulders, the feet. It's not just in the ovaries and all the parts of the body affected there. It's all over the body. So if you have activity from the receptor sites, you're going to have the essential elements of the body's looking for that estrogen. And if you balance it with progesterone, you are safer. And that is sort of the key in the process. So a long-term approach, though, might be if they can get a regulatory way of processing the estrogen without having the peaks and the valleys. That seems to give the most problematic situation. Low estrogen does have some issues, but there again, we do not want breast cancer. We do not want, if you can still, ironically, you can actually have low estrogen in the body and be estrogen dominant. I want you to think about that for just 1 second. What does estrogen dominant mean? It means simply that there is more estrogen in the body at that particular time than there is of progesterone. So the balancing act has been driven down by the loss of progesterone, and you can be clinically low in estrogen, and you can be even lower in progesterone, and you will have an unbalanced situation. And that's a cause of concern because unbalanced estrogen in the body just simply raises that risk factor as far as breast cancer and other cancers. So you want to have always a balanced arena in hormones. Again, balancing hormones is a critical, important factor in keeping you healthy and keeping you from having problems. So that is an intricate, very delicate field. And the more you know, the more you want to know. So my goal here in the next 3 to 4 weeks is to have a total menopause program from A to Z. And this will be balancing hormones. It will be understanding all about the cycles, understanding how you go about testing and learning and becoming knowledgeable, because you can reduce the risk of breast cancer by simply knowing more about it. If you become the individual that's educated, that you know about where to find the data, and have a resource of learning and becoming aware. Again, diet, exercise, reducing stress, all of these factors play an integral role in your development of a healthy lifestyle. And a healthy lifestyle starts with knowledge in your brain. Knowledge, and that's why we're here with Tom Jones Pharmacist. My goal is to give you some of the knowledge that I have obtained by learning and studying and becoming totally engrossed in the things that I feel are so important for everybody. So, as the educator, as the coach, and as the consultant, That's what I'm here for. And just like in shag dancing, we have found that shag dancing to protect the heart is going to be a wonderful program. We're going to roll it out in the month of August right here. And, you know, you heard it here. You've got to just think and develop the programs. We'll be on tomorrow. We'll have Today with Tom live early, we hope. And we'll have Tom Jones Pharmacist on in the later part of the day. My name is Tom Jones. You have been live. We love you and good night. Good night.